The Amazon is a colossal mystery. There was a Spanish explorer who went down the Amazon River system in 1541 to 1542. He reported seeing incredible cities, advanced arts and crafts, millions of people, a thriving culture. 100 years later, when other Europeans got into the Amazon, they couldn't find these cities. What happened was that the Spaniards brought smallpox. Smallpox devastated the local population because there was no immunity to it. There was a massive die-off. The cities were deserted. Within 50 years, they were completely overgrown by the jungle, and that's why they were not seen by the explorers who came in 100 years later. But now the jungle's being cleared, those cities are emerging. Above the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid are 5 further chambers, and these chambers are roofed and floored with granite beams that weigh about 70 tons each, and there are hundreds of them. These 70-ton granite beams have been elevated to a height of more than 350 feet above the ground and carefully and precisely placed in position. It is very hard for archaeologists to explain how that was done. You can say, oh, perhaps they built a ramp, but then you have to confront basic laws of physics. You can't haul a stone weighing tens of tons up a slope that exceeds 10 degrees. So this begins to seem like an absurd idea. This is one of the mysteries of Göbekli-Tepe, the biggest megalithic structure on Earth, because so much of it is still underground, although we know what's there because of ground-penetrating radar. And they say that civilization began about 6,000 years ago. They say that the first big megalithic structures were created by societies that were already agricultural societies. But then suddenly, out of the blue, comes Göbekli-Tepe in Turkey, which is 11,600 years old. They were hunter-gatherers, highly sophisticated, 20-ton pillars, beautiful astronomical alignments, and then they deliberately buried it. And archaeology is still struggling to explain this. How, in God's name, do a group of hunter-gatherers wake up one morning and create something like this? And then the mystery deepens, because at the same time that they're building the megalithic site, they're also suddenly doing agriculture. Plato, which is the earliest surviving reference to Atlantis, he puts it this way, that his ancestor Solon visited Egypt. It's historically recorded. That visit to Egypt was in 600 BC. And there Solon claimed to have been told by Egyptian priests about this great advanced civilization that once existed and was destroyed in an enormous flood. And Solon asked those Egyptian priests, when did this happen? And they said, 9,000 years ago. That's in 600 BC. That's 9,000 years before 600 BC. That's 11,600 years ago. That's exactly the date of the end of the Younger Dryas, because the Younger Dryas begins 12,800 years ago with a cataclysm, with a puzzling, mysterious rise in sea level at the same point, 1,000 years of freezing temperatures, mass extinctions of animal species all over the world, and then 11,600 years ago, global temperature shoots up. The last of the ice caps collapse into the sea level rises enormously. That is precisely the date for the destruction of Atlantis. Archaeologists will tell you that the entire population of the Earth were hunter-gatherers 20,000 years ago at the peak of the last ice age. But we today live in a world where an advanced civilization coexists with hunter-gatherers. There are hunter-gatherers in the Amazon rainforest. Some of them don't even know we exist. The notion that different types of civilization can coexist on the same planet shouldn't be surprising to us, because we do it. And that's what I'm suggesting was the case back then. They certainly had technology, enough technology to explore the Earth, very advanced astronomy, astronomical knowledge that could only have been accumulated through thousands of years of careful observation and recording of data. That knowledge is present in the most ancient myths of mankind. And in fact, it was that book, Hamlet's Mill, just as much as my first experience in front of the Great Pyramid, that led me to begin asking questions about the narrative of our past. And I think it's healthy that we should have an alternative narrative.